Another person I know they would like to be part of the parade. It is the voice of the Texas Rangers, Eric Nadel. Good morning, sir. We are world champions.
I love a parade.
Don't we all, man? We've been waiting for this parade forever. Are you excited to maybe sit up on a float and stuff?
Yeah, apparently there's going to be a float for the broadcasters and a float for the Ranger Hall of Fame. And I may have to do a timeshare. But really, honestly, I want to ride with Matt and Jared. I'm so proud to have worked with them for the time that I spent working this year. Proud of the job they did while I was out. And I got to ask Mike, did you sleep at all last night? You were just starting the show.
Yeah.
Did you get any sleep?
Eric, all of us right now, we got to do the show till 2:00, and then we didn't go off the air of the station, but we then were replaced. I probably slept from about 3:30 to 7:30, so I did get about 4 hours of sleep. So needed. I'm still excited though. I mean, this adrenaline rush.
Gosh.
Obviously, going and asking you this question, Eric. One, how much did you sleep? And then two, I talked to my father last night a few minutes after the game was over, and I'm Michael to him. And he said, Michael, I just didn't really think the Rangers were going to win a championship on my time here on Earth. And I was just wondering those two questions for you. Did you feel like this was going to happen at some point for the Texas Rangers while you were here? And then how did last night go for you?
I didn't think it would happen. Certainly during my time on the job. Maybe by the time, I pass on. But when Chris Young got hired, and I've known Chris since 2004. He's one of the few players who I've really stayed in close touch with after he retired as a player. And because he was living in Dallas, most of that time, we would go to lunch and stay in touch. And when he took this job, he said, look, you've got to stick around for at least another few more years because we're going to win this thing, and it's not going to take that long. And
Wow.
I really thought he was just blowing smoke. And I have all the love and respect in the world for Chris, and I know he's one of the most intelligent and creative guys who I have ever met. But I couldn't see how this team could possibly get turned around so quickly. And so, no, I'm with your dad, Mike. I really didn't think it was going to happen anytime soon, and I certainly didn't think I would ever get to make the final call of a World Series winner.
Go ahead. Did you plan it out? Did you think it had to be spontaneous or else it would sound planned? Or did you I'm just not going to think about it because we need to win an important ball game?
Well, I actually thought about it a lot because I went to breakfast yesterday with Levi Weaver from The Athletic. He's writing a piece about this whole thing. And, he asked me about that, and he asked me about 2011 and whether I had a call prepared for 2011. And it's really cool. I can talk about 2011 now.
Forever.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. People can say David Freese 100 times, and it doesn't bother me. But I gave it a lot of thought yesterday after I sat down with Levi. I gave it a lot of thought. And the only thing that occurred to me, the only thing I really wanted to say in there was, Ranger fans, you're not dreaming. Because that's how I felt all day yesterday was, the whole thing was a dream. We can't possibly, win this thing. We're the Texas Rangers. We don't win World Series. And we were so confident that we were going to win last night. All three of us were. And I remember feeling the same way in St. Louis, though. So I still had, kind of a cautionary feel to the whole thing. And in St. Louis, before Game 6, when we had two chances to win, I went out and bought a bottle of champagne. And I put it in the refrigerator in the Cardinals' home radio booth. And I remember telling Mike Shannon and John Rooney, whoever wins gets to enjoy the champagne. And so yesterday, Jared texted me and said, do you want me to go to the liquor store and get some champagne? And I said, well, that's up to you. I'm not doing it. I did it last time and we didn't win. And he said, well, I don't believe in jinxes. He said, I don't know anything about champagne. Just give me a couple of brands and I'm going to go and do it. And he was so confident. And we enjoyed some while we were doing the show last night once Jared got back up to the booth, and we enjoyed quite a bit more the rest of the night.
I don't know if you want or need this kind of feedback, but I can tell you your final call has already been played many, many times on this station, and every single time, whether it's the first time somebody heard it, whether they've heard it for several times, everybody loves it. We thought it was fantastic, and we'd even tried to speculate about what your final call would be, and so I thought it was amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. It was really just so full of emotion. It was really a release. And I don't know if it would have been any different if it had been a seat-squirming moment at the end, a nail-biter. But once Marcus Semien hit that home run, as Vince Cotroneo used to say on these broadcasts, we were on easy street.
Yeah.
A 3-0 lead, yeah, we can blow that. But a 5-0 lead in the ninth inning, no. We've now got this thing. And on the Semien home run, I jumped out of my seat and threw my arms up in the air. And it's a very low ceiling in our booth. And I smashed my hand into the glass window, which actually pulls up and hangs on the ceiling.
Oh,
and
no.
Fortunately, neither my hand or the glass got broken, but I almost knocked myself back down into my chair.
I know you had a special moment last night around midnight with Jared Sandler, and I was just wondering, you can kind of talk about that a little bit, but also I just want to know, I've been in the booth with you guys a lot of times, and I know how excited Jared can get. How excited was he sitting kind of maybe right behind you or beside you during these moments?
During the game, he was, he's always kind of frantically looking stuff up and coming up with incredible bits of information for us. But he had to go down to the clubhouse level, to the field level, in the top of the 8th inning. That's how Major League Baseball does it in the World Series. There's a line of an order of who can get different players, and there are Major League Baseball people who coordinate it. It's not like a regular Ranger game, where we all stay in the booth and a player gets put on the headset by Rich Rice or one of the Rangers PR people. It's not like that at all. Jared, in order to be in his place in line for the post-game interviews, has to go down there in the top of the 8th. So when he went down there, we had a 1-0 lead. And before he left the booth, he gave me, during the commercial break after the 7th inning, he gave me a hug. And he said, you've got this, have fun. And went down there. And we were in contact with him once he got down there. He had a wireless microphone down there on the field. So we were able to talk to him during the breaks and text back and forth during the last couple of innings of the game.
Eric, you're a legend, and you're the voice of my childhood. Every time I'm driving home from a baseball game, there you were. When my dad and I would go to practices, there you were on our nights driving home, and you were kind enough to respond to a letter that my friend sent you this year, and she really appreciated that a lot. A lot of legendary things that you've done, and you've also seen a lot of legendary players roll through this organization. And Kevin asked this question last night, and I was just kind of curious what you think about this. How all those Rangers players that have come through this organization, do you think that they relish this moment just as much as us?
I really think they do. No question about it. Not only the guys who played on the World Series teams in 2010 and 2011, but the guys who played during those years of futility. It's like you played Major League Baseball. Who'd you play for? The Texas Rangers. No, well,
Oof. Yeah.
That's not going to be the case anymore. We're on top of the baseball world, and I think that's a really good point. I think all the many guys who played for the Rangers, the hundreds of players who I've seen, I think they're all taking pride in this. I got just a series of lovely texts from Derek Holland last night after the game, and he's so overjoyed, and I'm sure that goes for all the rest of the living former Rangers.
I was hoping when we talked about all the former players, I could just ask real quick about a former broadcaster when we were talking about the emotions felt with Matt and Jared and you, and Corey's talking about our childhood and everything. Is the voice for a lot of us was you alongside Mark Holtz. Did you, I know it's a busy time, did you think about him at all as this was all unfolding? And can you tell us about that?
I thought about him every day. He never got to do a Ranger playoff game. He went over to TV in 1995, and the Rangers didn't have a playoff game until 1996. And then, of course, Mark passed away in 1997. But we were together for 13 years, both as a broadcast team and really close friends. And all through this playoff run, I've thought of him and thought of how much he would have enjoyed this, how much he would have loved it. I've thought about him when I came back to work and started working for the first time with the pitch clock this year. I started thinking of how much Holtz would have loved that, because he just loved the game that had rhythm to it. It was really important to him, and he used to talk about he felt like he was almost in a rocking chair, when the game had a good rhythm to it. And so I've thought about him a lot throughout the whole year, and certainly during this playoff run. And yesterday, again, after having breakfast with Levi and thinking so much about all the years I've had doing this, 45 years, thinking about Holtz was certainly foremost.
Now, before we let you go, Eric, Kevin and I discuss this very often. I think on a yearly basis, as we get to surprise, we always say, remind ourselves of that moment. You gave us the greatest broadcasting advice ever in the history of the world. As we were in Peoria, I believe, and it was our turn to do the show, and you were packing up your stuff, and you walked off, and you said, "It's all yours. Don't say F." And you walked off like a legend. So thank you very much for that great piece of advice, Eric.
And I think we all avoided it last night. As far as I can tell, we're still on the air.
Yeah. That's a good point. Although in my fantasy call, I was like, we'll pay the fine. So you're just going to go, that's right, the Rangers just won the effing World Series. But
that would have been great.
It's better the way you did it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was – this ride has been fantastic. We'll be out there for the parade tomorrow, and we appreciate your time, not just right now, but this season and all throughout the years.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much. I'm so grateful, and I want to thank Ranger fans. They've been so warm and welcoming to me and welcoming me back this year. I'm just tremendously grateful to the fans and the organization.